what inspired you to create Synergetic?
There's a whole combinations of reasons why this kind of naturally formed. I guess it was first of all, I was myself in a real stagnant period of my own fitness and training. I had plateaued really hard in my goals as far as where I wanted to be in strength training, and I was starting to really plateau in my martial arts. So I needed something that was going to keep my enthusiasm, and so I kind of was just searching out through a lot of different veins of fitness, whether it was CrossFit and or kettlebells, TRX, all sorts of stuff, and I just was just trying to see what would stick. And of course, I also train a lot of martial artists in specifically form and kata, and I would be working with younger kids, and their parents would be right alongside us, and it would take every private lesson that I have, I basically would come away with the same prescription for these young ones, which was push-ups, 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 thousands and thousands of push-ups, and tons of calisthenic work, and just a large amount of core strength training. And what happened is, they would appreciate that from on a paper standpoint, but when the kid would leave my 2-hour lesson or hour lesson, they would, the reality would set in. And a lot of the kids that I've been working with, they wanted faster results. So what happened is a couple of parents basically, they both got rid of me the same way. They complimented me for 40 minutes, and then they fired me.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so I took the responsibility. I just said, hey, this has got to be something to do with me and not them. And so I just kind of was beating my brain up as far as what am I going to do? I need to get these kids strong fast, and I need them to have results. And I just basically kind of put myself in the test dummy seat, and I decided to start doing traditional kata, mainly Japanese, and I applied resistance to it, whether it was free weight, cables, resistance bands, water, gravity, anything I possibly could, and nothing was too crazy. And what I noticed is that I would do these workouts, and I would fly through them in about 50 minutes, and I noticed that I was getting stronger. I was more fatigued, and felt better than I had ever felt. At least in at least 15 to 20 years. And basically, what happened is I just started to hone it down, and that was born synergetic martial arts for me.
Okay. All right. And so, assume I've never heard of Synergetic. How would you explain it to me?
So, what Synergetic MA does is not, it's based in martial arts, but what it's there to do practically is train instinct and teach instinct. So basically, give birth to new instincts within people, and they can apply the training system to just about any other kind of fitness activity that they do. And what is it now more literally? It is basically a combination of isometric, calisthenic, and slow, fast, concentric, eccentric movements all at one time.
Okay.
And so basically, you're always going to have at least 4 to and up as far as positions for pushing and pulling, twisting, turning at one time. And what made me think of that was basically when I was doing traditional martial arts, and I was doing back stances and front stances and all of these different variations. I noticed how much it grabbed my core and how much it would isolate certain muscle groups while other muscle groups were remaining fluid and moving faster. So I basically would just take these positions, and I would then add other things on top of them. And what I mean by how it's going to train your instincts is because what I noticed for years of powerlifting, and I'm not a very big guy, just so you know, but wanted to be big, and I really wanted to see the benefits of having gigantic curls and gigantic the gigantic bench press and everything. And
Yeah.
but I would notice that when I would help my friends move, I might be able to I might have made my goals benching that month, but I couldn't like pick up a TV, or I couldn't it would be awkward and I'd injure myself. And I noticed that I would get stuck in ruts and pigeonholes. And but at the same time, I can do the splits and I can kick I can kick really high. And so I had these really weird underdeveloped muscle areas and these really overly developed muscle areas. And so what I do is basically I would take any technique, whether it's a chop punch or a kick chop punch or a grapple technique. It could be anything. And what I do is I'll try and find ways to apply resistance and confuse my muscles and my nervous system the whole way through the motion, so that at any given time, when I throw a strike, a grapple, or wherever I twist, I'll never have a weak spot. My body will always be on a roadmap towards a stronger, more powerful strike.
Okay.
And in the end, basically, what happens is if you're looking to improve your martial arts, it definitely will do that. But if you're looking just for general fitness and you don't even have martial arts experience, it is something that you can adopt as well.
Okay. And what does a typical class there usually consist of, start to finish?
Start to finish, we do I do anywhere from 50 minutes to an hour, depending on how long-winded I am. And we try and move probably as fast as we can using active recovery. We don't necessarily, other than just hydrating, we don't necessarily take many breaks. So I kind of took in the circuit training and the boot camp training into play there. I like to just constantly be moving because I'm really ADD and I like to move fast. And so we'll start with kind of a calm before the storm. We'll do some breathing. We'll do some very, very light stretching, and then we will start getting into some isometric poses. And whether it's a horse stance or whatever stance I'm going to do, just something that can just kind of get the blood flowing to those joints. Then our warm-up will typically be a weighted warm-up, so we'll have dumbbells, and we'll practice our positions, which kind of go through leg swings and various strikes and blocks, and just stuff keeping our elevating our heart rate basically. And then I'll get into what the heart of the session is that day. Some days it's the principles of striking. Some days it's just basically the principles of balance. There's classes that we like to get really martial art geekery, as I call it, and I call it lock the temple steps, where basically we try and find anything we possibly can to give ourselves resistance and make it tough. And basically we'll lunge, and if I had temple steps, we would just climb steps all day,
Yeah.
And try and force ourselves off balance and confuse our muscles. And then when we get to a certain point of fatigue, we completely switch it up. We work a different grouping of muscles and kind of let those other ones recover, and then we'll go back. And then usually that will be the meat of the program, and then we'll probably do a final, what we call the master circuit, which basically will combine elements with what we learned that day, and then we'll also combine other foundational elements that we had learned in the past. And basically it's usually a 3 to a 4 set circuit that we will repeat twice or 3 times, depending on the group, and it'll basically just burn you out.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
would you say your class is more geared towards people that are interested in self-defense, competition, or more towards the fitness aspect of it?
Well, that's the one that I had a really hard time to answer when I was going through this. When I actually decided, hey, I'm gonna try and bring this to the mass. I wanted it to not get stuck with, hey, this is, first of all, it's not a karate class. And I wanted it to kind of be open to anyone as far as what their goals are. I mean, I'm a real goal-oriented person as far as training is concerned. The first thing I ask people, what are your goals? What are your intentions? What do you want? And no answer is wrong. And so to answer your question, I guess more concretely is I really wanted to be more fitness oriented. Uh, and but that being said, I also use it to train athletes, train martial arts competitors. I've broken now in. I'm more into fighters now and working on fighting simulations with them. And then um, I also, I want people to. I always say, if you wanted to learn how to drink a cup of coffee better, you could do Synergetic MA for it.
Yeah.
It's a really pliable kind of. I don't want to say science, but it's a real pliable protocol to just about any kind of fitness activity.
Okay. And what would you say makes your school unique from others like it?
Unique from others like it? I like to think of that I bring a little bit of that spice to the mix. If I have any, good, there's a great quality about me. I think I have a really good ability of finding other great instructors, and I have a good group of people right now that are helping me with this entire project, and I think that they have a great personality, and I have a real passion for martial arts. I think that anyone that has worked with me and or trained with me, they know that. They know that I'm kind of quirky. They know I'm really demanding. Sometimes I'm downright, just foolish in the way that I do things as far as I just move forward. But they also know that I really, 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 my whole life have cared and wanted the martial arts in America, especially, to prosper. And I've been really blessed with the amount of instructors that I've had. So I think that along with the space that I'm at right now, I'm at a wonderful group fitness space called Kosama. It's owned by a great guy, and he's been really, really helpful in helping me just push this forward.
Okay. And what are your future goals for Synergetic? Like, what would you like to see in the future?
You know, my goal has always been when it came down to any kind of martial arts endeavor is never been about the ultimate glory. And I know it kind of sounds cheesy, but it absolutely is true. I really only care about anyone who kind of gets involved and starts moving along the line that we're going is got to have heart, and they got to have the drive to want to, better themselves physically, mentally, and I basically, as far as Synergetic MA, yeah, I would love it if people around the world were, familiar with this training system. Yeah, that would be wonderful. But only at the only if it didn't cost, any kind of learning or any kind of experience. I'd rather it just be a really, really awesome school that nobody knew about, and there was 12 people other than, if we're going to go forward, just, make it great and hold ourselves to a set of standards that I was trained to, that I know that a lot of the people that are in the martial arts world with me were trained to, and not ever forget that, ever. So, the future, as far as I'm concerned, as long as we're sticking to our guns and sticking to our principles, and we allow ourselves to be, learning at all times and getting better at all times, I think that I'm going to be happy no matter where we are.
Okay. All right. So these next couple questions are going to be about you. So, where did you grow up, and how did you first get into martial arts?
I grew up in what is now a suburb of Minneapolis. It was a town called Chaska, and there was this. I wasn't a very popular kid, I guess you could say, in school, and this was when I was a young kid, and basically I was picked on a lot, and I saw the Karate Kid, and I fell in love with it there, and my mom was a total absolutely did not allow me at all to even humor the notion of going to a karate school.
Was she worried that you would get hurt or something?
Yeah, she worried to get hurt. She thought it smelled like feet. She had all these preconceived notions of what martial arts schools. Some of them are true, some of them are not. And I think, and I all I want to do is try. I mean, I was terrible at hockey. I was terrible at baseball. I was a bad athlete altogether, and that only added to me getting more and more picked on. And one day, my friend said, "Hey, I'm going to go take this, karate class." I think I was 8 years old, maybe 9 years old, with a free intro. And I just told his mom that I could go. So I snuck into the karate school, and I met my first instructor. And I still know them today, and they're wonderful people. And what happened is about a month went by of me taking classes there with my other friend, and Mr. Zaragoza, who was the instructor there, basically said, "Hey, what's your number?" And I foolishly gave it to him, and he called my mom and said, "Hey, are you going to pay for Mychal?" And and my mom's like, "What? What are you talking about?" And I got in big trouble, and I was like, this has got to happen. This is, and it turned out, after they realized that this was something that I really loved. I mean, other than the fact that I was a completely unfocused and very, kind of just lethargic child at that age, and just totally tuned in. And they, after, I started going to tournaments, and I started, winning trophies and stuff. My mom kind of got out of the, it's just in the basement where everyone just backyard wrestles. It was a little bit more civilized than that.
Yeah.
She ended up getting, a lot more, involved, and she's actually one of my biggest now, not only supporters, but she, as far as in the '90s, I like to think, and a lot of people would give her credit for being a great tournament mom. She did a lot for that entire sport, as far as training moms and how to become their kid's manager. And I use her methods when I talk to my own students today about competing around the country and the world, because she was just brilliant at it. So it turned out to be a really good thing.
Okay. So, do you know any other styles than karate?
Well, so here's the deal. I've never done karate. I teach at a karate school I teach at a school called National Karate. They're a wonderful system that is based here in Minnesota. They have in other states as well. They are not necessarily a karate school. They are a Junri Taekwondo style, and then from there, their own proprietary system. That's where I train, where I received my black belt and my second degree black belt under Master John Worley, Larry Carnahan. And so technically, me and karate, I have done very, very, very little karate. That being said, I've done other Japanese martial arts, such as Shoiryu, and I've done wushu kung fu, and I've done all sorts of Thai boxing. I've studied all sorts of different styles, but really, the only one that I really have never done is karate.
Oh, really? I thought you had trained in karate.
I don't know if I have something that misled you that way or anything like that. All I can imagine is when these schools were named karate schools back in the day, that was a general term, and karate was, the karate school. But truth being told, yeah, I've studied Taekwondo, American Taekwondo, Shoiryu, Okinawan martial arts. I've studied Shotokan. I've studied, with the LA Wushu Institute. I've studied with Cirque du Soleil. I've studied all sorts of different other martial arts, from Krav Maga all the way down to in Brazil and Jiu-Jitsu and everything like this. But never really once have I done karate.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's funny. Most people do karate before anything else.
What's that?
I said that's funny because most people do karate before anything else, and you've trained in all these other styles. Are there?
I mean, you have to say. I mean, so for instance, what I'm saying, I mean, I guess everything that the American martial arts system is based on. Of course, there is elements of karate in it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say? So,
Yeah.
Of course, but I guess I don't know. Maybe I just find it humorous. I've never really done karate.
Yeah.
So I got the pads on, done the whole that sparring element of it, which is always interested me and everything like that. But yeah, American Taekwondo, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And where karate, I guess, is general term as well.
So, are there any other styles that you would like to learn in the future?
Every style. I mean,
All of them?
seriously, it's like uh, if I'm old enough, or if I can keep going and kick and punch until I fall over and am dead, I will do it. You know, I I you know I grew up in a really interesting time. I think at least in Minnesota, the Midwest, as far as martial arts is concerned. You know, I was right on the cusp between the old school and the new school, and the old school being, you know, the tough as nails, we used to, break our hands and we liked it, that kind of thing. And the new school was, to a little bit more business oriented, a little bit softer. And, granted, it was still 1989, so it was still, in comparison to what goes on today, it was still pretty, hardcore. And, it was, so I guess, we got, hold on, I got distracted here for a second. Sorry.
That's no problem.
Yeah. So basically, all right, go ahead. Actually, go ahead with the question again. I'm sorry, nervous.
That's fine. I was asking if there's any other styles that you would like to learn in the future.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I grew up in an interesting time, and what they looked at when we did, flashy kicks and stuff like that, everyone was like, oh, you can't do that. That's not. And I, for a long time in my youth was really into the tricking element and the extreme element. My instructors were very, kind of on the fringe of that in the 90s. And when I got older, I got really into traditional stuff. And now I find myself sometimes looking at these newer things coming out, like, oh, that's just weird,
Yeah.
But I'm just like, you can't do that. That's not a karate move. It's a gymnastic move. And,
Yeah.
and that's how I ended up, and really in the end, I just like, wow, the athleticism of some of these people is amazing. I will try anything, and I if someone brings something forward to me, I can see, I'll definitely do it. I try really, really hard to keep an open mind to stuff, and people always yell at me too because they're like, "Oh, that's not karate." I'm like, "Yeah, you got to give it, you got to give it a chance. It needs to grow, it needs to breathe." And I hope people will do that for me with my training system and with SynergeticMA because I'll be honest, doing it sometimes, people can be like, "What are you doing?" Kind of, karate people are like, martial arts they're thinking, well, that looks kind of weird. And then fitness people, even though they're swinging kettlebells, look at me and they're like, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
So, but I always invite them in. I just say, hey, come and do this. I swear to you, you grab these like really light weights and do a back stance for a couple of seconds. And by the end of this class, you will be puddle of sweat and you will feel like, whoa. So,
okay.
That's basically what I can say.
All right. And you said you were a national champion, right?
Yes, sir.
And what were you competing in?
Oh, go ahead.
What were you competing in?
So when I was younger, before I was an adult, I compete in primarily the NASCA circuit, and that was in under black belt, and I was a number one competitor there all throughout my youth as far as that in weapons for Mikata and then sparring as well. And that's basically, 5 points fighting. And then when I started training in 1992 with Mychal, who runs XMA and was the ATA now, I basically just kind of shifted all my focus on form and kata, and from there, when I got my black belt, I went on the NASCA circuit again, and eventually got myself onto a international karate team, Team Chat International, and I spent basically from 1990 until 1999 where I competed pretty much, and I won my share of Grand Championships and won my fair amount of points, and it was a learning experience, that's for sure.
Okay. And what style were you competing in?
So what I did, uh, when you do the competition circuits, obviously there are so many different circuits in this world. Still a few circuits that I'd love to join. Um, I did when I was a black belt, especially when I got into adult, which back then was called open forms, and now these days it's called creative form. And of course, we have a form division called extreme form. But being my heavy German bones, I wasn't very good at flipping around. So I just did for the nice, pretty standing kick and power for the punches, good intensity. But yeah, so we were right on the edge of what the extreme form is now today. I was in the grouping of people that did the first 540 tornado kicks and 720s and stuff like that. And people back then were like, "Wow, that's unbelievable!" And now they're literally just flying through the air and spinning.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting time.
Yeah. Okay. And so, what made you want to become a teacher instead of continuing to compete?
Well, that's interesting. I did always instruct, and I suppose my first job, pretty much, that being a bus boy, was working at whatever the martial arts school down here in Minnesota in Prior Lake, and I always liked teaching, and I always had a handful of private lessons and private students, and I've trained actually a lot of other competitors to become very successful in that world. And to answer your question, basically I took a long hiatus from competing and that entire world in general, but I never really forgot the martial arts. And the martial arts, to me, what happened is after I came back, I completely reformed my entire opinion about what competition was and what it was meant for. And I think it helped me grow a lot as a martial artist. And that's what a really big basis of what SynergeticMA was, the fact that I wanted to teach people, what traditional martial arts really, really was for. It wasn't just for people to come into school and be bored doing, knife hand blocks and kibadatsu and all this stuff. And because all they want to do is put on the pads and fight each other,
Yeah.
And I can respect it, right? And I spent my time with all my good friends who were really good fighters, and I like to fight too, but they were they competed and they were tough guys, and they would always call me the form geek, and I'd always laugh with them, but when I started working and doing Japanese martial arts and I started doing that traditional stuff, I basically just kind of fell in love with it all over again, fell in love with the whole art, and I started to realize what the art was. And to me, and now I sit with my students and I say, hey, just so you know, before we go into this and before we start training for these tournaments, you have to understand that the goal here is not plastic trophies, points, and glory. It's so much deeper than that. Like, you have to figure that out because I chased points for years and years, and when I left that entire scene, I felt completely unfulfilled. I felt like it was a waste of time, and that's basically my mission now. I want people to learn what the martial arts is. The martial arts is a discipline that goes so far beyond any kind of glory, and it lasts well beyond any kind of your prime, so to speak. And for me, reinvesting in my mind and my body and rehabilitating my body after certain surgeries and stuff, I basically it's revitalized me. It's turned me into a stronger person once again. And all of the stuff that I could do before as a younger man, I feel I can do it better. Whether or not I can is
Yeah.
it's yet to be seen, this thing. But I'm stronger, I'm faster, I'm mentally more tough than that 18-year-old was that was traveling around the country thinking he was cock of the walk. And I also have a much brighter and more honed instinct as far as how to be able to use this great thing that these amazing people have passed on to me. And I think that that's my goal, I guess, as far as what martial arts is, and that's why I don't really compete anymore. I don't emphasize competing. I only emphasize training and making yourself a better martial artist.
Okay. And what about martial arts made you want to dedicate your life to it?
Protection from bullies. um, I had no other way to get girls. No.
So it's more for confidence?
Yeah, right. It's just one of those things that, I like to dabble in a lot of things. Unfortunately, a lot of athletic things aren't my thing. That was just because I guess I'm awkward at most sports, but it was the activity that I can always fall back on.
Yeah.
It was the activity, and there was times that I was able to take it for granted, and it has not only not let me down, but it has made me it has come and made me like amazingly successful. And for that, I kind of pledged allegiance to it. It showed that even after I had kind of lost faith in it almost, when I was 19, and trying to be defiant against even myself, that years later it called me back and said, "Hey, I've got a bigger mission for you." So I guess it's always been there for me. It's literally protected me and has saved my life, and it also has given me such great joy and great physical strength, and the benefits are just there.
Yeah.
Me.
Okay. So if you weren't a martial arts fighter and trainer, what do you think you would be doing with your life instead?
Gosh, I like to think superhero. No. It's hard to imagine. I like to dabble in a whole bunch of stuff, but I don't really know if I have I do have an identity beyond it. I just couldn't imagine my life without it, basically.
So you couldn't see yourself doing anything else?
Pardon me, sir?
Is it so you couldn't see yourself doing anything else?
I really can. I really can. I'd like to say, hey, man, I'd like to be a stockbroker, but I mean, I can barely, add. So I probably would get fired and then sued. I don't want to get fired and sued.
Yeah. Okay. So you're more suited for martial arts then?
Yeah. Let's say that. Yeah, that's not going to be hopping in the space shuttle anytime soon.
All right. So, what would you say is your biggest achievement so far in life?
Wow. Well, biggest achievement so far in life, I guess. That's another tough one for me because I really don't feel as though there's going to be a big enough achievement. I think once I knock one down, I'm just going to keep going forward. I mean, I've done some big personal goals for myself that would be minuscule to some people, but to me were mountains. And then
I've done some things that I consider
just like jumping over a puddle, and then that's something huge for other people. But I guess the one thing I can say is that I've had and have been blessed to have the most amazing teachers for me as far as life and martial arts. And if I can just go forward and be half of what they were and are, I think I'm gonna be happy. And I guess if you really wanted me to put something on, what is my what do you think is my biggest thing? I guess starting something I think is great, and seeing it through. That's this project, SynergeticMA, is kind of the brainchild of everything that I've learned over the past 20 plus years doing this, and I just want to make it great so that I don't do my masters a disservice at all.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, and this will be my last question. What would you say is your biggest goal?
My biggest goal?
Yeah.
My biggest goal is to all the things that I relent and just kind of step back from because of I'm not good at it, or it just never was my forte. I mean, I've got certain things that I want to be able to, I want to be able to conquer all those things as far as uh, uh, every one of them. And I know that as you go forward in any, massive challenge, as you knock down challenges, other challenges, they get tougher and they get, bigger and they're never ending. So you just have to keep conditioning yourself to get tougher and more complex. And just so you can learn how to simplify it, I always talk about, in relation to raising my children, it's just like, I look at my parents and I think, gosh, how did you guys do it? I mean,
Yeah.
this is impossible. And I mean, and I have relatively pretty decent kids, I'll be honest. They can be little hellions, but at the same time, they are pretty easygoing, and I am pushed to my absolute limit. So I always tell myself, it's like, it's never going to get any easier. You're just going to get more, conditioned to it. So I guess my goals is just, I'm never going to give up. I'm never going to stop. I'm never, ever, ever going to say I can't. I'm always going to push forward. And when I fail, I'm going to find the answer of how to succeed. And that's just kind of how I was trained,
Yeah.
Back in the old school of martial arts, it was like you either stuck it through class and died, or you stuck it through class and you survived and you came back the next time. There was no, hey, I'm not that good at this. I'm just gonna quit,
Yeah.
So that's just the way I grew. The way I am. I'm always pushing forward. I'm always trying to just knock it down, and it's not pretty sometimes, and sometimes I look like a fool, but I just keep going forward.